Hi, here we go again, and only another couple of slide systems to go through. But at this stage, I wanted to go back and to the look at the way that CAD is going to be influenced over the next 30 years. If we look back, then 30 years ago, we were still on the drawing board, and that CAD came in the late 80s, and even so, CAD has been a replacement for the old way of drawing, and it has developed, but you can still see the same way that we used to draw. It's still lines. Okay, so Revit and the others are now modular based, and you pick up an object and you draw with that object. But you can still see that old fashioned way of drawing still there in the background. And so what I'm looking for is to see how CAD will develop for the next 30 years. And for my view, then AR and VR is going to be the route ahead. When you look at sci-fi films like Lawnmower Man, and you start to see how that was influential for its day. As far as sci-fi goes, it's a bit dated, but it's still got that element of, is this a route that we could easily take? When you look at the way SketchUp is being done, then you can see that on HoloLens, the way that you can pick and choose objects and use those to draw with. So, what other things that we need to look at? Well, in the next slide, I'm going to start to talk about something called data redundancy, or the digital legacy of older files. Will they be able to be read in 30 years' time? Will we still save files in the same format? I've got files which are 30 years old and I can't read them. They're for an old Commodore 64. I've got files for old Macs that only the old Mac will read. And unless I've got machines for each of these different formats, we'll never be able to do that. The cloud solves that problem slightly, because it's easier in the cloud to put a virtual machine up that would read that file. And we've seen that with the old Mac Pluses and old virtual machines now, which are looking at the old Apple One and the Apple II. So what are we going to do with this? Can we foresee that the CAD that we know today will change out of all recognition? And the answer is probably yes. I'm still a keen advocate of the way that AR and VR will take over and allow us to draw. Is that the right word? Allow us to design a detail or a building, looking at it from the building itself around you, picking up elements and putting them and stretching them, pulling them into place, and then zooming back and looking at the facade, and then overlaying that onto the correct topographical areas. So I think there is a lot to be thought about in the way that CAD and our particular brand of CAD is going to develop over the next few years.